The emergence of tight end Miles Kitselman and defensive end Joshua Josephs is great for the success in Tennessee in 2024. I'll explain here on a Wednesday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I am your host, Cain. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. You everydayers, thank you so much for making us a part of your morning routine every single morning. Gametime. Big thank you to Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create that account, put in the promo code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. We have got a loaded show coming up today. Going to talk about two of the better stories, positive stories in fall camp. That's Miles Kitselman and Joshua Josephs, and how that can turn Tennessee into a really, really solid football team in 2024. Help in that area as well. Tons of news that came out on Tuesday. I dropped some notes on the Journalist Quarters over at VolQuest.com on some baseball talk. We'll get into that. SEC hoop schedule for the men's basketball team was dropped. Football game designations, all that type of stuff, some jersey talk. We'll get into that conversation in segment 2, and then we'll catch up with Josh Ward for Award Wednesday in segment number 3. All right, so Miles Kitselman, he really kind of emerged in spring practice. He's had a really, really solid fall camp, don't get me wrong. Joshua Josephs is the one that has truly emerged over the course of the offseason and in fall camp. But both of those guys, the success of Tennessee in 2024, it's not dictated on those two guys, but boy, it's really going to help. Let's split them up here. Let's go with Miles Kitselman first. Tennessee, since Josh Heupel's been here day one, has wanted to play three tight ends. He's wanted to play three tight ends, especially in the red zone. You've seen it. I can count on one hand how many times in the red zone over 3 seasons Tennessee's put three tight ends out on the field at one time. They've done it before, but it's not something that they've done a lot of because they just couldn't. You had Princeton Fant, Jacob Warren. You had Jacob Warren, McCallum Castles. That was the combination. It was a two-man show. This year, you're going to play Holden Stays, bring him in from Notre Dame in the transfer portal. Ethan Davis has also emerged. He's going to be not just a pass-catching tight end, but he's going to be an all-around solid tight end. But you also have Miles Kitselman that come in here. And Miles Kitselman came in here as one of the most... You talk about fanfare, the least amount of fanfare of any transfer that I've covered here at Tennessee. Everybody thought he was kind of a throw-in. Everybody thought that he was just going to kind of come in here and be a depth piece. Depending on what Tennessee does, snap one, game one against UTC, Miles Kitselman could be your starting tight end. And again, that's another conversation, but I think fans get so caught up in the term starter. Oh, starter. Who's going to start on the defensive line? All those dudes on the defensive line are going to play a whole lot of football, and James Pierce is going to play a little bit more than those guys. All three of these tight ends are going to play football for Tennessee. I don't think it necessarily matters who starts, but again, that's a losing battle because fans only see start. Some fans only see start. But anyway, Kitselman comes in here, from Alabama the last couple of years. This past year in 2023, he appeared in all 13 games, but primarily on special teams. Primarily as a reserve tight end, a blocking tight end, if you will. In 2022, as a sophomore at Alabama, he played in 6 games, had 2 receptions for 18 yards. In 2021, as a true freshman, he attended Hutchinson Community College, where he played in 3 games, had 2 receptions, 16 yards, 1 touchdown. But he got his start in the community realm, in the JUCO realm, and of course we know Hutch being one of the best JUCOs out there that produces a lot of SEC and college football talent. And it was Cody Cook who was actually on staff there at Hutch. And Cody Cook was a staffer here at Tennessee for the last couple of years before going to Old Dominion to be the wide receivers coach sometime this offseason. But he's the one that stood on the table and said, hey, I coached this kid. I was around this kid every single day at Hutch. He's been at Alabama for the last 2 years. You need to take a chance on him. He is better in space than anybody will give him credit for, and he's played in this league. He's seen this league. He knows the physicality of this league, and he's been at Alabama the last 2 years. Stood on the table and said, take this guy. And Tennessee did. They brought him in, and so far this offseason, we'll see what he does in the games. So far this offseason, Miles Kitselman has been such a great emerging surprise. So he's one of those guys. Deeper tight end room. More ability in the red zone where Tennessee was just abysmal in 2023. More ability to be more hyper-focused in the red zone, to put another big body guy out there, also in a guy that can play in space, and Miles Kitselman. Now, let's shift over defensively. Joshua Josephs. Joshua Josephs, we know his story. He came in here. He was one of the 2 premier edge rushers to sign in the class of 2022, excuse me. He was the one that saw the field first. It was Byron Young. It was Roman Harrison. And then as a true freshman in 2022, it was Joshua Josephs that got some playing time. It was not James Pierce. He was more refined. He was more technically sound compared to James Pierce. And he saw the field, and he played in 12 games, had 12 tackles, 2.5 TFLs, had a sack. Good start. You expected that start to build and grow in 2023. His stats did a little bit. 12 games, he had 20 tackles, 4.5 TFLs, 3 sacks. But his role did not change because James Pierce emerged. James Pierce leaped him, and of course, James Pierce, we know who he is now. But his offseason, he bought into the strength and conditioning program. He's transformed his body with that and the nutritional program. He's put on some good weight, okay? He has invested so much more time and money and energy. He's got the right attitude and the right mindset, and he's been making plays in fall camp. He's been out there, making some plays in the scrimmages and practices every single day. The coaches and Josh Heupel can't keep his name out of their mouth, and that's going to be a great thing. But his emergence also is going to help in this regard. There's got to be a Robin to a Batman. Last year, the Robin to James Pierce's Batman was Tyler Barron, and I understand Tyler Barron was a strong side defensive end. They were on the field more times than Joshua Josephs and James Pierce will be, because Josephs and Pierce both play the Leo position. I get all that. However, with his emergence and his ability to put on some weight and stock up the good way, he can be out there a little bit more on the other end. They can go Rabbits package a little bit more when it's not tried and true 3rd and long, 4th and long. And when people were paying attention to James Pierce, Joshua Josephs can go and eat, right? When James Pierce is not on the field and Josephs comes in, he can go and eat. He can go and get his. And I just think that it's going to make Tennessee overall better, especially on the defensive line, especially in terms of pass rushing and getting back to the quarterback. So there's not going to be a ginormous drop-off at the Leo position this year like I think there was last year and like there was in years past, in my opinion, when Byron Young wasn't on the field, or when James Pierce last year wasn't on the field. I think James Pierce is elite. Joshua Josephs is not yet. But I don't think that drop-off is huge like it was last year. So all in all, I think the emergence of Miles Kitselman, I think the emergence of Joshua Josephs just continue to elevate Tennessee as a program and can be big for the success of the Volunteers in 2024. Hey, when we come back, got a lot of things to get into, some baseball talk, SEC hoop schedule release, plus what about football? What can you expect at Neyland Stadium this fall for Tennessee home games? That's coming up next, and we continue on here on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Want to see about our friends over at Gametime? Gametime is an app to where you can buy tickets to events in your area. It doesn't always have to be sporting events. It doesn't always have to be concerts. It can be comedy shows. It can be monster truck rallies. It can be whatever the case is. But if it is an event in your area, you can buy tickets to it, likely on the Gametime app. Here in East Tennessee football games, of course, you can buy tickets in the Gametime app. Tennessee Smokies games in Kodak, they're coming downtown next year, but in Kodak right now, you can buy tickets to Tennessee Smokies games, Southern League champs, or division leaders at this time, I should say, on the Gametime app. But, this basketball season as well, these concerts that you want to go to at TBA at Food City Center, you can buy the tickets on the Gametime app. And while you're there, you can take part in so many different things on that app, like priority pricing, lowest price guarantee, the Gametime ticket coverage, was the best customer service policy in all the ticketing industry. You have this toggling feature where they show you exactly what you're going to pay for, no hidden fees at checkout as well. And I mentioned this earlier, but that lowest price guarantee, Gametime is going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find a ticket cheaper in the same section on an alternative app. So, don't just take my word for it. Go check it out yourself over at the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And of course, want to give a shout out to our friends over at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. We'll have something a little bit different for you happening right now. Through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment that you can cancel anytime. So now through September 22nd, NFL season is right around the corner, but now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5, and then you're going to get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV and YouTube. All you need is a current form of payment, a Google account, and of course to place that $5 bet. All this and more over at FanDuel.com/LockedOn, FanDuel.com/LockedOn, FanDuel.com/LockedOn to download America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, to make every moment more. Hey, welcome back into your Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Make Locked On SEC, Locked On College Football your second and third listen here today after Locked On Vols. But I do appreciate you guys for being here and making us a part of your morning routine. A couple different, we're going to hopscotch here a little bit in segment number 2. Some newsworthy items came out yesterday, and I want to react to it a little bit. And of course, if you hadn't heard about it, I want to inform you here in this segment of the show. SEC basketball schedule was released for Tennessee basketball and all the other SEC teams yesterday. Quite a nice little schedule here. You start off January the 4th. This is just the SEC only schedule. Start off January the 4th, and Arkansas comes to town. And in any typical year, you'd be like, oh, Arkansas, who cares? Who cares? You know, whatever. There's some juice to it this year. Number one, John Calipari is now coaching Arkansas. Okay, we know the rivalry between Rick Barnes and him. They are friends, but there's a rivalry there. Tennessee's fans disdain for Coach Cal. Okay, so there's that. Arkansas is pretty good. Of course, they're rebuilding their entire roster this year with the help of Kentucky. But also, speaking of rebuilding that roster, Jonas Adu. Second team All-SEC last year. Of course, he did a lot of good things for Tennessee. Jonas Adu is now a part of Arkansas's ball club. So, yeah, there's a little bit of spice to that. What an opener there for the SEC slate at home on January the 4th against Arkansas. January the 7th and 8th, it's going to be at Florida. January the 7th or the 8th, is going to be at Florida. 11th is going to be at Texas. 14th or 15th is going to be at home against Georgia. 18th is at Vandy. The 21st is home against Mississippi State. 25th of January is at Auburn. 26th, home against Kentucky. February 1st is at Florida. Here against Florida, 4th or 5th is going to against Missouri at home. The 8th is going to be at Oklahoma. The 11th or 12th is going to be at Kentucky. The 15th is going to be home against Vanderbilt. The 22nd is going to be at Texas A&M. The 25th or 26th is going to be at LSU. March 1st, home game against Alabama. 4th or 5th is going to be at Ole Miss, and then concluding the regular season at home against South Carolina. Tennessee plays a home and home. Remember, with this new 16-team SEC, 2 permanent opponents. They've changed it so many different times, and let me make sure this is right. 2 permanent opponents for Tennessee, that is Vanderbilt and Kentucky, and then you will play one other team on a rotating basis for a home and away every single season. So this year, that would be Florida for the University of Tennessee. Home games against Florida, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi State, Missouri, South Carolina, and Alabama. Away games at Texas, Auburn, Oklahoma, A&M, LSU, and Ole Miss. It is an 18-game league schedule for men's hoops. And, of course, Tennessee coming off an Elite Eight run last year. You're adding to that roster some firepower in Chaz Lanier and Felix Okpara and Darlington Stones-Dubar and a couple others. I mean, I'm intrigued to see kind of how this team comes together. And, of course, if they can surpass what Tennessee did last year, which is the second Elite Eight appearance in program history and the hunting that ever elusive Final Four that has never happened in Tennessee basketball history. All right, so a couple of notes on the baseball side that I dropped on GQ yesterday, and I wanted to get you guys aware of. We'll get into this here in a moment. We're talking about what's going to be happening at Neyland Stadium for home games this year, but it won't be Champions Weekend at Neyland Stadium when the national championship baseball team will be honored. The Tennessee baseball team that won the national championship, they're going to be honored during the Alabama game on October the 19th, the third Saturday in October. The basketball team will also be honored during that football game as well, again, for the Elite Eight run, but that's October the 19th, home game against Alabama. Some people are saying, well, then what's the point in Champions Weekend? Well, Champions Weekend's to recognize and applaud and support champions of the old, or past champions. I guess the very recent champions will get their own spotlight, and that's going to happen with the Tennessee baseball team and basketball team from last year against Alabama. Anson Siebert really big-time right-handed prospect. Huge. I mean, he was like the prospect number 111, according to MLB Pipeline, entering the draft. He got drafted, but it was like in the 16th round or whatever. It was late. He had an injury in the spring, and so that kind of, scared teams off for right now. But he was a late arrival to campus. He's on campus right now, which is a great sign. Everybody else that was supposed to be on campus for Tennessee baseball team is on campus. No surprises. You have to track that with baseball every single year, coming back for the fall and then coming back for the winter. But Anson Siebert, who I don't think is going to play a factor into this year's team this upcoming year because of the injury he's coming off of, dude's going to be a stud. He's going to be a great pitcher for you down the line. So he is officially on campus, and I wanted to report that because a couple of guys have been asking me about that. Fall exhibitions, it's not official out there, but I can tell you here on Locked On Vols, October 25th against Western Kentucky in Nashville. Sunday, October 27th against Troy and Jackson. That is going to happen. New jerseys, they will not have names on the back of their jerseys, but Tennessee's getting a whole new set of brand new jerseys. There will be a smoky gray alternate. There will be a black alternate, but the black jersey that they won the national championship in, they're not going to wear those again. They're going to do something to honor those as they should. A.J. Russell, I'm told, is on schedule, starting to do some things in the weight room, which is really good. If he stays on this course, he won't be ready for the start of the season, but he will pitch at some point in 2025, which is incredible news. And, we'll just wait and see about Tony Vitello's contract extension. Still no official update on that, but as I will continue to say, as I said for months now, nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about on either side. Tony's going to be taken care of. His assistants are going to be taken care of. The stadium's being renovated. Nobody in America, no other program in America is investing more in college baseball than Tennessee is right now. I can tell you that. And then finally, we will end on this. What you can expect at Neyland Stadium this fall. Well, October the 12th against Florida will be the annual Checker Neyland game. I don't want to say annual. It doesn't happen all the time. But Checker Neyland game presented by Pilots. So that's October the 12th against Florida. November the 2nd against Kentucky. That's going to be Champions Weekend, presented by Pilot again. And that's when they will recognize a lot of the former champions for Tennessee and the 2024 Tennessee Athletics Hall of Fame recognition. That's against Kentucky on November the 2nd. November the 9th against Mississippi State is going to be homecoming. November 23rd against UTEP is going to be the Salute to Service Senior Day. So mark your calendars for that. Nothing official in terms of what jersey they're gonna wear when. There's some rumors out there about a certain smoky gray jersey being worn very quickly to begin the season. I will say I've been told that I think it's going to happen soon. So towards the first part of the year, we'll see exactly when that is, but it'll be the first part of the season, in my opinion. Black jerseys, typically Tennessee wears those around Halloween. Tennessee wore those against Kentucky 2 years ago around Halloween. So I would imagine that somewhere around Halloween is where the black jerseys will happen, but we'll see. And then a lot of people will know about orange helmets. I think that's up to the players. There were some talks about them wearing the orange helmets last year, and then I think the players said they didn't want to, so they didn't. The players a lot of times pick the uniforms, just like in baseball they did. So I think if the players at some point later in the year want to wear the orange helmets, I think there's a chance that potentially we could see the orange helmets again. Either burn them. If you don't win with them, burn them, right? Because the last time and the only time Tennessee wore those helmets, it was not very good. All right, when we come back, Josh Ward going to get into a little Ward Wednesday action as we continue on here with a Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Want to tell you about another proud sponsor of the show, and that is Ibata. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer but dreading the cost? With Ibata, you get cash back on all your purchases, so you can spend more time making memories this summer, or to end the summer, and spending less time dreaming about them. Ibata is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're trying to purchase. The average Ibata user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or that fancy dinner that you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibata, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or to gift cards. Simply add the offers in your app, upload your receipts, and voila, the money is yours. So right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibata by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. That's promo code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Go to the App Store, Google Play Store, download the free Ibata app, start earning cash back, and use that promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That is Ibata, I-B-O-T-T-A, Ibata, and the Google Play App Store as well with promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Josh, fall camp is over now. They've transitioned into a mock game week. Game week next week. Kickoff is less than 2 weeks. What's kind of your vibe? What's the feeling right now on your radio show and the talk around the town about Tennessee football?
There's a lot of momentum. A lot of people are excited and should be excited about the start of the season, but I think excited about what Tennessee might be able to accomplish. So not too long ago, just a few days ago, we had the conversation about, are you adding an extra win to what you thought in June and July? It is that time of year. And that's not exclusive to Tennessee. I imagine in Baton Rouge and in Clemson, they are adding an extra win to what they thought. And we can keep going to different big-time college towns. Georgia was probably 12-0 2 months ago, so their fans are still at 12-0. But you get the point. It's that time where fans get excited. Tennessee fans, though, have reason to believe. The defensive line looks like it's for real after talking about it for 7 or 8 months. The anticipation of what Nico might be able to do running Tennessee's offense has a chance to be very real. He'll show us in September when they play NC State and Oklahoma weeks 2 and 4. But the vibe is really good that Tennessee has a legit chance to get to the college football playoff. And that's, of course, new. A year ago, we weren't talking about 12 teams that could get into the playoff. We were talking about a 4-team playoff, which really restricted the conversation. Tennessee's number 15 in the country going in the preseason polls, but that puts Tennessee in a real position to be among the top 12 at the end of the season.
So with that being said, I'm going to do this either on tomorrow or Friday's show here on Locked On Vols, talking about adding a win. We're getting to that point in the offseason, that point in camp where it's like, okay, we're feeling it. Mm-hmm. Where do you have Tennessee record-wise this year? And if you're going to wait to unveil that on Josh and Swain, you can bypass this, but where are you at?
Well, I am waiting, but I haven't made an official determination. I've said through a lot of the offseason, I lean 9-3, and I may be in that position, but I think 10-2 deserves some consideration, partly because of the conversation around Tennessee. There was a lot of excitement around a number of different position groups. Still questions, and I think more questions than some may want to admit, either talking about starting spots or depth at certain positions. But when I look at Tennessee's schedule, I still have some questions about NC State, Oklahoma with that offensive line. I mean, part of it is you're trying to break down the schedule. And I think the Arkansas game is one that people need to take more seriously than they are. Same with Florida, but I also think both are very winnable for Tennessee. I think the Bama game is very winnable. I think the Bama game might be more winnable than some think, just in general conversation. And the Oklahoma game might be a little scarier than some think. But there are several that I've just said I don't see Tennessee losing, assuming health. Kentucky, 3 of the non-conference games, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and I don't think Arkansas. So I kind of still lean 9-3, but I haven't decided. I will make an official prediction next week. I might go to 10-2, and if I do, then Tennessee fans should be very scared.
I mean, I've hinted that I'm going to go 10-2 when I do my record prediction because I'm right there as well, and maybe I'm just amped up for football. I know everybody is, but maybe I'm so close to the situation that like I'm saying, well, if this hits, mm-hmm. Man, Tennessee can be so good, and that's for any team, not just Tennessee, because this team so well. But then again, on the flip side of it, sometimes that's where you get some negative media personalities where it's like, oh, well, all the warts, where they like the depth and everything. So I don't know. I'm going to be intrigued to see. It's like every time we talk 9-3, 10-2, it's like, well, Georgia is going to be that loss, right? And then you just assume Alabama. But, I mean, Tennessee can absolutely beat Alabama. I mean, I had someone comment in the things yesterday saying, why do you just assume Alabama's a loss? I don't assume Alabama's a loss. But if I'm going to go 10-2, that second loss has to be somewhere. And I think it would be Alabama more so mm-hmm. than I think it would be Oklahoma or Florida or NC State. So
yeah, what obviously makes this so challenging, we don't know which position groups will stay healthy, who will be hit by injury, how that will affect them in certain games, because we don't know which position groups will deal with that, and we don't know when. So that's part of the problem. The funny thing about I think 9-3 is considered negative in this conversation. 9-3, like among Tennessee fans. So a lot of the viewers and listeners to us right now, if I were to say 9-3, that's considered negative. That's actually going over the win total from the sports books. There may be one or two that has 9 as the number, so it'd be a push. But the number over the last several weeks has been 8.5. So 9 would be more optimistic than that's on the overside. But the conversation in Tennessee circles, I think, is more 9-3, 10-2. I will say on our show, when we asked this question here in the last week, we got a lot of 11-1s. That's an example, I think, of people adding to the list, because I think a lot of the 11-1s were probably 10-2s back in the middle of June.
You look at Tennessee in the running back room. Looks like Cam Seldon's cleared for contact. That's a great sign. Heading into the Chattanooga game, if you were Darrell Sims, how would you manage the workload of those running backs?
Yeah, just a few series for Dylan Sampson. I'm sure he wants to get his touches and get his yards and get into the end zone, and he should. But you also have to think big picture over the course of the season, the importance of keeping him healthy. So I don't know what the correct answer is on the amount of series. And I mean, maybe Dylan breaks a big run and you're like, okay, you got your yardage, so you can go back and stand over the side. But I would want to get Deshaun Bishop some run. I don't know what like snap count they'll have on Cameron Seldon, but assuming he's available, you want to get him some action, get him some real hits against players that aren't going to hit as hard realistically as players the next week or in the SEC. But Peyton Lewis, a freshman, you want to get him on the field. So I would want to play everybody, and Tennessee should have that chance against Chattanooga.
Who has been, I don't want to say the feel-good story, but what's been the story for you, a positive story from Tennessee fall camp?
Positive stories. So I think some of the excitement around transfers coming in, like Chris Brazzell and Jermod McCoy at corner, I think there is real anticipation that those guys are going to help Tennessee positively right away. And I think that talk is for real. I think there's excitement around the tight end position and what that group can do with the different players playing different roles. And that has to come true. That's that preseason talk. But Kitselman, I think, was a surprise in the spring. Ethan Davis looks like a guy that is a real pass-catching threat in this offense. So I think what those guys have been able to do, along with Holden Stays coming in as a transfer, has created optimism at a position group that was left vacant with McCallan Castles, and Jacob Warren leaving after last season. So those would be a couple. And then, the star position is interesting because the positivity around Christian Harrison and the excitement around Boo Carter is also made possible by the unfortunate injury to Jordan Thomas. Tennessee, knock on wood, has stayed relatively healthy during the month of August. They've had to get some guys back from some nagging stuff and some offseason cleanup. But Thomas is the one injury where they lost somebody and he's down for the year. But there's been excitement around Harrison and Boo Carter, of course, a freshman that fans would love to see on the field. So those are a few that come to mind immediately with some of the excitement, along with the defensive line looking like it has a potential to be among the best defensive lines in the country.
Yeah, somebody asked me, might have been the Monday Night Chat, actually, outside of James Pierce, is there another elite body on this defensive line? And, the answer right now is no, but it's okay. It doesn't have to be. You're going to be playing 13 guys. So when the fourth quarter happens, because the snap counts are so low, you are going to be so fresh. So I think there's a lot of really good veteran, experienced defensive linemen that are going to play this year. And if they're not gas in the fourth quarter, I'll take those guys over some winded offensive linemen any day of the week. It's a really, really, really good situation Rodney Garner has himself in with that defensive line rotation.
Yeah, there's real NFL potential. Like Omar Norman Lott, I don't know if elite is the right description for him, but I think he's very much on the NFL radar and was a year ago. So for him, he very much could be competing in NFL training camps right now. And instead, he's helping the depth in the rotation of Tennessee's defensive line. That's a big deal.
Amari Thomas could be a second-year NFL player right now, at least a second year, in camp right now, literally. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of NFL talent on that roster. Out the door right here, or for that defensive line, Rick Barnes' BFF, John Calipari, and Jonas Adu coming to Thompson Bowling Arena at the Food City Center to open up SEC play on January the 4th. The SEC schedule for men's hoops was released yesterday. Your overall thoughts on that game, and of course the slate with Tennessee getting home and homes with Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Florida this year?
Yeah, SEC basketball is going to be a lot of fun. I really am excited to watch it this year. Football has to happen first, of course, but there's like it's kind of freshened up a little bit, right? Tennessee fans were enjoying beating John Calipari in Kentucky, and I know they split and 2 years ago went Kentucky's way, but John Calipari at Arkansas, with that roster that he's put together and some of the Kentucky transfers, the guys that he brought from recruiting, makes the Arkansas matchup more interesting. And then you throw Edu in there, and that might be the number one game for some Tennessee fans this upcoming year.
Oh, yeah.
But, Kentucky, with Pope in there and the roster he's put together, they are not a slouch. I think they're going to be good. So that's a huge matchup still, Tennessee versus Kentucky, Tennessee, Auburn. The league, I think, is in good shape. Alabama might be the pick to win the SEC this upcoming season. Florida has bounced back as a real team. Like Florida being down was no fun because Tennessee, Florida's had a ton of history in basketball. So this upcoming year is going to be great in the league. And Tennessee has a really good team. Tennessee is going to be one of the top contenders in the SEC, and they will once again have Final Four aspirations. So it just goes in line with everything that's happening with Tennessee athletics right now. Tennessee basketball is a major program. I'm not saying it's Kansas and Duke and North Carolina in terms of the blue blood status, but in terms of right now, major programs in college basketball, Tennessee is on that list.
Hadn't even got the football season yet, and Josh is already talking about basketball. It's like I asked him the question, huh? Hey, what's coming up on the show the rest of the week and as we get into game week next week for Tennessee football?
Yeah, we're approaching single-digit days to go. That always feels good for fans. So every day, just breaking down what's going to happen and different angles that we can find to the start of the season. Really interesting stuff, I think. So appreciate the chance to plug. If you want to check out the show, you can podcast it or listen live and check out our newsletter, which goes out every Friday morning. It's quick and just a few minutes talking about the main talking points of the week surrounding Tennessee and college football topics. So joshandswain.com or the link that Eric gives you.
Yep, link is in the show description of this show right now on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Josh, as always, man, thanks so much.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, that is Josh Ward. Ward Wednesday. We do it almost every single week right here on Locked On Vols. Thanks so much for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Couldn't do without you guys. We broke down a lot of news and notes from a busy Tuesday on Rocky Top with some baseball notes I dropped on the GQ, football game, designations, some jersey talk, hoops, and of course the emergence of a couple of guys. Josh just mentioned one of them there, Miles Kitselman and Joshua Josephs. We are getting ever so close to the start of Tennessee football. We will be back here on a Thursday to continue that conversation right here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys as always, everydayers. We'll see you again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.